Welcome to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. Build Your Best Business focuses on the entrepreneurial journey. What does it take to successfully start, manage, grow, and eventually exit a business? Today, my guest is Michael Gargiulo.
All right. That was great. That was the best one yet.
CEO of, can you tell I've been practicing all before we got on the air. The hardest part of my job is the names.
The names will get you.
And it's the one thing you got to get right. But I have said, if I get your name wrong like 10 times, people go, I know his name now because he had to say it 10 times.
We've heard it 10 times.
That's right. So CEO of VPN.com. So thank you for joining me.
No, thanks for having me, Eric. I'm excited to share today.
Yeah. So tell me VPN.com.
Yeah. So I think last time I was on the show was about 8 months ago now. And at the time I had just purchased VPN.com, didn't know what it was going to become, but very quickly, just to take the listeners through the journey of the last 18 months, we bought VPN for close to $1 million, one of the largest domain transactions of 2017. And the goal originally was to provide our own VPN service. And that is very costly. If you don't have $2 to $3 million in this space, you're not going to be able to compete. So we pivoted to licensing the VPN technology to then resell ourselves to the customers. And for one reason or another, we spoke to a lot of very large VPN companies, but didn't like just the technology or something that we would be tying our hip to in the long term. And then finally, we settled on a hotels.com style model where we ourselves don't sell a VPN. We provide information on the 1,000 or so providers out there and help you find the one that's right for your needs and budget. So whether you're
you've had a couple of pivots. Then.
Yes, we've had 3 very large, hard to digest pivots in the last 18 months. But I'm getting the greatest results on this last pivot, and that was about 90 days ago. So things have really started to go in a better direction for us.
Okay, so tell listeners may not know what VPN.
Yeah, so a VPN it's an app that gives you a safer way to connect to the internet. So when you go to Starbucks, when you go to an airport, you're using what's called public Wi-Fi that is not your own. And what's happening now is hackers are setting up fake public Wi-Fi. So, Starbucks free Wi-Fi is really the guy's hotspot on the table next to you in his pocket. And all your passwords and everything, you're basically hand delivering to him. So a VPN encrypts all of your information and protects you against really anything that can happen because now everything's unreadable to anybody, not just the guy at the coffee shop, but your ISP, the government, nobody can get into it. So VPNs, for a lot of reasons, have been on a very significant uptrend in the last 24 months. And by owning VPN.com, we get to, sandwich ourselves right in the middle of that.
Well, it makes logical sense that would be a site I would start with. I mean, talk about authority, right? That's definitely the authority for it.
And we don't even have to say anything.
Right.
It's like, you need a VPN, go to VPN.com. And I don't think a lot of brands get the luxury of saying that. And that's just because of where we chose to invest our money. It was, some people choose product, some people choose the location or a piece of real estate where they sell that product, and we got really smart with where we wanted to put that capital, and it's paying off in a lot of ways now.
Well, there's several big brands that don't even own their own kind of what you would expect URL. They've got somebody else is sitting on it and won't give it to them without some outrageous amount.
You would be amazed.
Yeah.
You would be amazed at how many brands don't own the .com, have a dash in it, and it's not, it's not for everybody unless you're getting a lot of Google search volume. It may not make the biggest impact of your business, but if you can own and acquire a category killer like VPN.com, you're going to get the residual marketing and branding effect for eternity. Yeah. So that's really what we're just now kind of scratching the surface on what that domain can do for us.
So getting into doing VPN.com, and I have several questions about the pivots because 18 months, 3 pivots.
Yeah.
It's about in line with what I would say, but I'm curious as to how long we lingered or didn't, right? Because, there's the balance of, I don't want to get into that yet. So I do want to get into that, though, around when you knew and how long did you last to then say, now we need to change? Because 18 months, 3 pivots.
Very difficult.
Yeah. But before that, so VPN.com, why decide to buy that? What was the background story?
I've been in this space for about 10 years now. I had actually started trying to acquire this name about 5 years ago. So I had been pursuing the owner 4 years before I had actually been able to strike a deal with him. I started my entire kind of entrepreneurial career in high school when we were trying to get around the school firewall, getting on MySpace and YouTube at the time. And that is a very closely related niche to VPNs, proxies, proxy servers. I actually bought proxyserver.com. We were doing 5,000 to 10,000 visitors per day, still do that much, and knew that the direction of privacy, the direction of security online was going to take people to VPNs. And at the time, proxy server was searched about 600,000 times a month on Google, and VPN was about 1.2, so about double.
Oh, wow.
Since then, VPN last month, I think just passed 14 million searches. So the surge in demand for VPNs has far outpaced everything that we knew with proxy server, and we knew that was the trend that was developing. So we just had to have the name, and that's why I chased the owner down for 4 years, because if we didn't get the name, we'd be stuck with proxy server in the space, and that'd just be another Me Too brand.
Yeah, and proxy server feels like I'm just technical enough to be dangerous. So it feels like a part of a solution versus VPN, which feels like a solution.
It feels just the brand is shorter, it's cleaner, it's more well known for so many reasons. It gave us a great kind of stepping stone for us to move on in the market.
So, talk to me about the whole concept of even picking VPN, because I work with a couple companies where I have to use VPN services to get into their network, and I try to not as much as possible.
Yeah, nobody likes to
I'm
use
not
a
the
VPN.
Reject rebel who I'm like, just give me email. I don't need anything else. But selecting VPN and knowing the differences, like how different could they be, and what is it? Why would you choose one over the other?
It's not quite as clean cut as like mobile carriers. So you see kind of mobile carriers having the same kind of offer. More or less it's the same service. The VPNs are very, very different. There's everything from the amount of devices they support. Do they work on your iPhone? Do they work on your Android, your PC, your Mac? What type of speeds do they get? Are they business ready? Can you manage team accounts with that? There's so many different little nuances that add up into creating, a solution that only works for a handful of people. So if I'm a downloader and I download, just lots of data, I'm going to use a very different VPN than if I'm a small business owner. I've got an attorney practice that's got 5 attorneys, and we need to ensure that all of our communication is safe. So we've broken it up in about 6 categories, from privacy to business to downloaders. And if you go on vpn.com, you just click the one that represents you best, and you'll see a short list of ones we believe fit that need. Okay,
so talk to me about We Believe. So are you doing your own assessments and coming back consumer report-ish?
So yeah, that's what we did. Is we spent actually we've been collecting this data for about 3 years, and we didn't recognize how valuable it would be until about 6 months ago when
you needed to pivot.
When we needed to pivot, because we were using the data, we were actually scraping all of this information from our competitors to see how our own product stacked up.
Got it.
And what we found was our customers were more interested in knowing how good of a deal they got, either in terms of price or features, and less about our product itself. So it's kind of, do you want to be a part of the platform, or do you want to be the platform that everybody else is a part of? So we really took a long time to figure out how can we take advantage of the strength that is our name, and then include about 190,000 pieces of data across 1,000 VPNs that we collected.
190,000.
90,000. So there's thousands of hours in research across our entire team that compiled this information. So if you want to know anything about any VPN, do they serve it in this country? Do they have it for this device? What prices? We cover virtually every VPN out there. And that, again, was kind of that hotels.com type inspired model that cars.com, apartments.com, they don't own a car or apartment. Right. They just provide that information and make a commission on the sales that they refer. And that ultimately is kind of what took us in the direction we're going down now.
But you were just tracking it and getting it because you wanted it for competitive reasons.
Yeah, no, that's how it started. And we continued to aggregate this and recognized when we were not really seeing the results that we wanted before the last pivot, that there was something here. We didn't know what to call it. We didn't know how to present it. Do we put a Google spreadsheet on our homepage? That question we still couldn't answer for a while. So there was a lot of information that we had to learn and acquire before we were able to be like, oh, like this is what we could do with it, and this is how we could really be valuable to the customer and the visitors that we're getting. And our time on site, there was a direct correlation when we started posting all this research to the engagement that we were getting. So once we started to see that, it kind of just slowly started to validate itself and snowballed into kind of this big Wikipedia style who, what, where, when, why, and then a list of all your recommendations on the homepage now. So been a long journey to this point. A lot of information was needed for us to get here, though.
So the primary customer for you, is it a techno geek? Is it somebody who knows, or is it a business owner? Like who's consuming this?
Primarily someone looking for a VPN. So our channel of growth is Google. So SEO is going to be how we really scale this thing. And until we're in the top 3 results, we're not really, seeing a lot of traffic come to our site. So we want people who know what a VPN is. If you don't, you can come to our site and learn about it. But we found that if I have to do a lot of hand-holding and convincing, you're gonna, it's the time to convince you to buy which VPN is gonna be a lot longer. And we certainly help those types of customers, but the people that we value best, okay, you know why you need a VPN, you know who you are, you know what a VPN is, boom, you choose one of the ones off the 6 categories and you're off into the races. So you're getting the value from us like a Google result. In less than 20 seconds, you're on and off our site.
Okay. Well, we're going to go to a commercial break, and when we get back, I have a lot more questions.
Let's do it.
So, you're listening to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw, talking with Michael Gargiulo.
That's it. That's Gargiulo.
It again. No, you're just nice. I think you're just telling me
Gargiulo.
Gargiulo, okay. Because I added a Leo at the end, right? CEO of VPN.com. This is Build Your Best Business. We'll be back in just a minute.
So I am here with Eric Holtzclaw, founder and CEO of Laddering Works. Eric, tell us about Laddering Works.
So Laddering Works is a company that helps other businesses in one of 2 ways.
Okay.
So your company is either growing and you're not exactly sure how to keep up. So you need to scale operations, maybe raise some money, those kind of things.
So growing too fast.
Growing too fast.
Okay.
Growing too fast. You got kind of structural, you walk in every day, there's a fire. You've been doing it longer than 3 years or 1,000 days, and you still feel like you can't step away from the business and take a vacation. So we help companies on that side. So sort of operational support, looking at their financing, seeing if there's a way that we can help them, get to the next level. Or you're a company that's not doing any marketing at all. So you are maybe stalled. Your business has gotten to a certain level. You make a certain amount of money every year, but you've never gotten above that. And we come in and build marketing structure. So both of them are operational at the end of the day. It's about creating a process and a way to approach it that's strategic. It's that owners don't often know how to do both of those. So they're really good at sales, which means they may need operational structure because they're out signing more customers than they know what to do with. Or they've built a beautiful product that's the best kept secret. And so they need somebody to come in and help them market that product. And so that's the kind of businesses we look for. We come in as a stopgap, and we work with a company for somewhere around 12 to 18 months typically, solve those problems for them and leave them better than we found them. And we're back. You're listening to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. We're talking today about what it means to pivot and pivot quickly. So my guest is Michael Gargiulo.
Yes.
All right. Again. CEO of VPN.com. Obviously having problems with the name today. And we were talking about VPN.com being kind of an aggregate site where people can come to find out about VPN, find out maybe what the right solution would be for them. It was birthed out of you having your own product and you kind of competitively were collecting the information and said, hey, we can make some money off this. So talk to me about, I tell people to do something for 6 to 9 months and they should start to see results.
Yeah.
And so unless someone came to me and said after 6 to 9 months they'd seen no results, I would be hesitant to tell them to pivot, right? So were you seeing no results, or were you just knew that they weren't as large as you wanted them to be? Like, how did you know how quickly to switch between those 3 different models.
So burning the ships is a very...
it is, yeah, I like it.
It is a very... you've got to know a lot to do it correctly, or else you can completely blow up everything that you're doing. And for us...
You die of scurvy.
Yeah, you die, and that's how most companies die to begin with. And for us, we already had about $2.5 million into it, between the $1 million that we put in for the domain and another $1.5 million that we had just used for proxy server the last 2 years. And when we originally acquired it, we knew that if we didn't hit the metrics we needed to hit in 4 to 5 months, we had to change something. And we didn't even come close to what we felt when it came to selling our own product would be the right type of return.
But don't you think, don't you think that was fast though? Don't you think that, like you're asking for something to happen
I do,
quickly.
But at the same time, it also was how can we, what does a pivot allow us to say that we can't say now?
Okay.
And when we're selling our own product, we kind of took the 3 different, there's 3 ways to make money in this space: sell your own, sell somebody else's, or just be the aggregator like we are now. Right. And when we were selling our own, we were very limited. We didn't have mobile. We didn't have certain features that our better competitors did. And we knew that it was going to take at least $1 million to get us to that point. So it's like, okay, do we commit to burn another $1 million trying to catch up? Or do I pull back and look at the battlefield in a different way that I can then come about it either collaboratively with these providers, which has been very interesting now that we've pivoted, how many of them are literally coming to us now, or is there a way we can just say or do something different than just trying to sell our own product? Because selling your own product, it's sales out the door every day. That's the metric that you monitor. And if you're not hitting that, you're not either marketing it right, your product isn't that sellable or competitive. So we had a lot of issues there, and that pretty quickly pushed me into trying something else. When it went to licensing, that brought that $1 million down significantly. So now instead of $1 million to get the technology, I was down almost to nothing to start. But that pivot was again tying ourselves to another company for eternity.
Right.
And these companies were overseas, and there's a lot going on with just the dynamic trade-wise between the U.S., Israel, Russia, Ukraine, which is where one of the options we were looking at. So for a lot of reasons, we just didn't have a great option to really stick our foot forward and feel confident that we were maximizing the value out of the name. And that's when we just burned it all again and said, okay, if we look at these other multi-billion-dollar corporations succeeding with this kind of exactmatch.com model, what are they doing? How are they succeeding? And that's when we started to kind of almost reverse engineer the way we could be the platform for this entire industry. Now it doesn't matter what VPN you're wanting. You can come to vpn.com and find out information on that VPN, find out information about anything VPN related that you need. So instead of pigeonholing myself in this one kind of part of the battlefield that I could add value on, now it doesn't matter what you want. Yeah. I have the ability to provide value on anything VPN.
Yeah, the reason I push you on it is just that most companies are not smart enough to pivot that. They may not. I would almost say, well, you didn't give it enough time.
And we didn't. To be fair, that's a decision you're 65% confident in.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, you don't you don't know. I did not know. It's nice to be in the position that we are now, and I like the direction we're heading. But when we were going through it, when we were setting everything on fire, you're like, oh gosh, you don't like to see your house going up in flames and not having another home to go into, and that's tough as an entrepreneur. And to do it that quickly, you got to have the right information, or you'll do it wrong.
So today, you're doing the reviews and stuff, and I know that like hotels.com, they may make money off advertising, they may make money off of a portion of what your booking is, those kind of things. Whoops, how are you guys making money?
So actually right now we aren't, and we choose to do that on purpose. The model will allow us to make a commission on every sale that comes from our site. So inevitably, when we have the proper authority built, when we are ranking in the positions we want to rank in Google, we'll have a lot more flexibility to kind of activate all of these affiliate relationships, which literally you would be amazed at how many VPN providers are throwing insane opportunities at us, sometimes upwards of 60 and 70% of the sale. So now I'm making more money referring the sale to you than I would have providing the product as a service.
Processor or vendor as a company, so they do the same thing.
Exactly. So I mean, it's just interesting how you get more money almost sourcing the sale than you do actually providing the service that people are coming to you for. So when we're ready, when we're doing enough traffic, which is going to be probably in about 6 to 12 months, we'll look at the affiliate option. Yeah. We know it's there. We're more interested in building the right authority, building the right reputation, because once you activate the affiliate links, everybody looks at you a little differently, including Google. Now they know you're making money on all these commissions, and you're incentivized maybe to push your content or structure your content in a way that favors providers that pay you the most. And we didn't want to get into that battle at all, which is a pretty big battle in our space. And we just said, hey, let's build the authority first. Let's get to 100,000 visitors per day, and then we'll talk. And the money will be there when we are.
And so from a competitive perspective, you were already building some of the content. You were creating kind of those comparisons. So that feels like that could have carried forward into this pivot. What were some things that didn't carry into this pivot that you had to do that were new, or things you stopped doing? Like what's that looked like?
The biggest thing I think was taking the 190,000 pieces of information and creating a content strategy that allowed us to carve that up. Nobody's going to sit here and look at a huge spread. I mean, this thing is absolutely ginormous.
We thought about putting a Google spreadsheet up, and my eyes glazed.
And no one's going to sit there and do that. So how do we carve this up for people who are maybe looking just for a VPN for iPhone or just for a VPN for Roku or Apple devices, and create a page dedicated specifically to those types of VPNs? So we recognized we had to carve up our content to really cover the landscape of VPNs, and figuring out how to do it with the data was about a 3-month process, because there was so much. You wanted to do it correctly. Your reputation obviously depends on the quality of data and the recommendations you're handing out. But yeah, a lot of our business has kind of been centered around the content strategy of what we're doing with all of this data now that we've got it. And we're ranking number 25 in Google with just one page on our website now. So one piece of content is already moving us into the top 30 results of an extremely competitive multi-billion-dollar niche. So imagine having 400, 500, 1,000 pages of content that really represent the same quality that can, move us into the top 3 spaces in Google for tens of thousands of keywords, not just VPN. And that's where the money really is.
So in architecting that, what did you think about? How did you come up? Did you bring people in, or is that just what you've been doing at midnight?
We'd been staring at this puzzle for a while. So I knew the kind of keyword strategy I wanted to take to this. I wanted to cover every type of VPN. We needed to have a strategy that at least accommodated every type of VPN. We didn't need to launch the content or the research for everything at the same time, but just have it where we could do it when we're ready. And when you list out all the different categories of VPNs by countries, you start to get a feel of really everything that you have to have. And once we understood all the different kind of keywords that people would search, you can then put your content strategy around that, and it kind of all fell into place from there. And we're rolling a lot of that out here in the next 2 weeks. So it's going to be an exciting next 6 months for us, to say the least.
And so talking about future, and are you, you're going to go buy like icecream.com or something? Like, is that next? Or?
No, the future is, I think we can take VPN.com to $1 billion. I really do. I think it's got the potential just globally. It's got the awareness globally. There's so much demand for it. 80% of the internet is going to be using a VPN to get online in the next 10 years. We have a very great trajectory in the market. Countries are trying to block VPNs. Services like Netflix are trying to block VPNs that only bring it into the media more. We actually just released a really large piece about Netflix. They have 120 million subscribers, and they don't let any of them use a VPN when they connect.
Why is that?
So the way their content licensing contracts are set up with the movie houses, a visitor in Canada
can't see something.
A visitor in the U.S. can. So the U.S. catalog is the most sought after Netflix catalog. So what people do is get a VPN. You know, if they're in France, they'll connect to the VPN in the U.S. and now they're in the U.S. But doing it the way they're doing it, they're blocking every single customer from accessing that privacy and security. So, you know, you're playing with an extreme game of fire here, and I don't see really a great path forward over the next 10 years if they really say no customer can have this security.
So they've taken an extremist view to it.
Yeah, very kind of, in my opinion, uneducated way of, there's plenty of other ways you could solve this problem and actually make more money for them and their content holders. They just choose to block it outright. So that's their prerogative, and we just released a big piece that will be actually globally released here in the next 2 weeks. So you'll probably be seeing
I like those antagonistic and counterpoints.
We're going after them.
I like it. I like it. Those always work so well. So as you think about like future, I mean, as you're putting this together, you're eventually for sale, acquisition? Is it you're going to be king of VPN for the rest of your life?
My ears are always open. We wanna grow this.
Here first, folks.
My ears are always open, but seriously, I've worked on a lot of projects. I'm done project hopping. I want to see this to 9 figures, 10 figures before I move on to something else. And I think there's only so many opportunities that have this type of potential. And if I let this go too early, I probably, I don't know, maybe won't come by something this opportunistic again. So I'm really kind of dead set on building out the vision that we've got. And if somebody likes it, great. My ears are open. My LinkedIn, you can send me a message. If
sounds like you might have a number too.
Right, so. Yeah. You know, if not, you know, we've got our vision. We've got enough resources to get us there, and that's what we're going to kind of push forward with.
So are those resources you investors or you?
So I've been very fortunate to have my father put in about a large portion of the money that we've used. I put in the original $300,000 myself to get everything started, but obviously I didn't have the money to buy $1 million domain, so I had to, and that was a very interesting conversation, just impact on our relationship, father-son, over the last 2 years. Like there was a lot of time where I wasn't performing or producing the results that he wanted to see, and that has a toll. And but long story short, he stuck by me day and night, and to be here now, kind of looking back what we went through together, it was needed, it was required, it's made better men out of both of us. But now that we're here and we see the potential of what's in front of us, things are getting exciting.
Well, good, awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Eric. I enjoyed it. Happy to come back on and share the story. And if anybody has any questions or I can help any of the listeners, Michael Gargiulo, CEO of LinkedIn.
He said his own name.
I said my own name wrong. CEO on VPN.com, LinkedIn. I'd be happy to help anybody.
Well, thanks so much for joining us.
No, thank you, Eric.
So you've been listening to Build Your Best Business. What are you going to do? Maybe pivot. Until next time, to build your best business.